Wolf Pack, what's going on? It's your boy, the Wolf of Roto Street. RotoStreetJournal.com. We breed and feed you fantasy wolves. Here with your Week 6 Waiver Wire reaction show. Now, normally I limit this list to 10, and I do have my top 10. As you guys know, I'll always go in order, so you know who I'm prioritizing, how much FAAB I'm spending on everybody, all that good stuff. I think this week is particularly loaded, though. There's about 20 options I really want to discuss, so I'm going to move a bit quicker through everybody, just so I can cover all 20 of those names. I'll spend more time on the names that warrant it, sure, of course, but there are a lot of options this week. One guy in particular who I'd spend every single dime I have on, clearly the number one waiver wire priority, all that good stuff. So we'll make sure to get there first, but ultimately, I have a lot of guys I want to get through, so I'm going to dive right in. As you guys know, the drill, the thumbs up helps us get out to more people. Thank you so much in advance, whether you're here live, catching the replay, maybe you're listening to the podcast the day after. And remember, we're live every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern time to go through all these waiver wires, but especially to answer any questions you might have. Should I drop player X for player Y? All that good stuff. We'll hit them all at the end of the show after I rip through these names. So let's dive on in, Wolfpack. Let's not waste any more time, but get those questions in. Let's fill this mailbag up. Let's go. Week 6 waiver wire. Kicking it off now. First, I do recommend you check out. Now, the guy I'm going to go over at number 1 on the pickups, he's still under 50% rostered. I'd have him above both of these guys. That just tells you how much I love who's coming up here. But I still also highly encourage you to check, did George Pickens get picked up last week? Now, entering the week, I said he was the number 1 waiver wire pickup. He probably is gone, 55% rostered, but do check it out. Granted, he did play the fewest snaps of the big 3 receivers, Deontay, Chase Claypool, Pickens. He also saw the fewest targets, with Deontay taking 11 and Claypool seeing 9 and doing absolute jack shit with them. Shocking. That's what he's done all year. And then Pickens came down 3rd on the target totem pole with 8. Yet he also finished as the leader in yardage yet again, 83 yards on 6 catches, highly efficient, despite the fact that a lot of these catches were like huge contested grabs. I mean, he just looks like such a stud. He clearly is one of the top receiving talents of this rookie class. I think he's far superior to Chase Claypool at this point, a much more diverse tree. I am just waiting for him to completely ascend, and it looks like he's well on his way. I think you can treat George Pickens in every week, wide receiver 3, moving forward. Him and Pickett have that nice connection, and the schedule is about to soften up. A few more tough matchups, and then a very easy end of season. So check out George Pickens, see if he's still out there in your leagues, and also check for Michael Gallup, who was number 2 on last week's show. He went up to 51% and still might be lingering because he hasn't quite blown up. You can't really blow up when your quarterback throws it, 10 freaking times for Cooper Rush this last week? It's going to be hard until Dak comes back. But remember, last 2 seasons under Dak Prescott and Kellen Moore, when they've been linked up, they finished number 2 or better in passing yards, passing touchdowns, pass attempts. It is a high-powered attack. The defense is better than those past years, so maybe we'll take a little bit down in terms of overall passing volume, but I do think that high-scoring, high-efficiency attack, number 1 in yards and points total last year, could return, and I think Gallup, again, the team preferred him over Amari Cooper, as we've talked about, was the wide receiver 18 the last time he was the number 2 weapon in a Kellen Moore, Dak Prescott attack. Wide receiver 18 in air yards, top 24 blow-ups in 4 of his matchups above 22 points. Over half the time, he was top 24, 51% of his games back in 2019. So steady consistency, big blow-up potential. I think that's all going to come to fruition for the second half of the year for Michael Gallup. So go check out your waiver wire, double check for Pickens, double check for Gallup. But I do have to reiterate, actually, just to wrap up Gallup, just to make sure, 4 catches, 44 yards again on a day that Cooper Rush threw for just barely over 100. Maybe he didn't even cross it. I forget his final stats. They were quite forgettable. It was a pathetic effort, but he did earn a whopping 30% target share, ran more routes than Noah Brown, saw more targets than Noah Brown. So it seems like he's ascending back into his kind of clear cut. I'm the number 2 alpha here. Me, CeeDee Lamb, are going to feast from now on. And Dalton Schultz got hurt yet again this week, so maybe even a higher target share for Gallup. So check for those 2 guys. Let's dive into, though, all the players that are 50% or fewer rostered. Starting at the top, you'll see him on every single waiver wire show, and deservedly so at the top spot. If anybody says otherwise, you can probably turn that show off, because Ken Walker is about to go ballistic down the stretch here. I think you should spend 100% of your FAAB right now. Number one waiver priority. If you have any somehow out there, use it. He's worth everything. A lot of impatient owners did drop him. And you know what? You might not have been able to blame him given the fact he had done next to nothing to begin the season. But this is why you always hold a talented rookie that typically will blow up anyways during the second half of the stretch, but especially behind an injury-prone starter. We know at this point Rashad Penny done for the year, going to have surgery on a broken tibia. So prayers up to a speedy recovery for him. But now the door is wide open for Ken Walker to hit a top 12. I'm telling you, running back one ceiling is well within his capability here. We already saw first week into action really extensively. As soon as he went down, Rashad Penny, Kenneth Walker saw 100% of the backfield attempts and also ran a route nearly 60% of the time. We did see DJ Dallas take a few of the obvious passing down snaps. That will be a little bit of a committee, but you should expect 15 to 20 carries every single week for Ken Walker, one of the most efficient backs coming into the league. The Doak Walker Award winner for the best back in the league last year. I mean, you just have to throw on his tape. Watch the guy. Powerful, elusive, good speed for his side. Underrated hands that they were raving about in camp. So maybe he will get involved a bit more in the passing game. We saw it all on display too. 8 carries, 88 yards, a beautiful 69-yard touchdown run, bowling over tacklers, breaking away from the pack, and just showing, again, for his size, a man shouldn't move as fast as he can, especially laterally. Like, the guy's a great running back. I truly think he's one of the better talents behind only Breece Hall in terms of rankings in this class right now. Now finally going to get extensive opportunity. And this was against a New Orleans run defense that had not given up more than 10 fantasy points to a single back since Kildare Patterson in week 1. Like, this was a good stifling run defense that he just ran all over. And this is a decent Seattle attack. You'd be shocked to know they're 7th in terms of points per game right now. Just absolutely lighting it up. Geno Smith is playing way better than expected. They're pushing the pace. One of the top 10 in total pace right now. Just overall, a surprisingly good fantasy cocktail to suck down is the Seattle offense. And you can have the lead back, a very talented guy, seeing 15 to 20 touches in it. Sign me up all day. Again, blow all the money, all the fab, number one priority. He is well worth it. Another highly just every week plug-and-play starter, particularly if you're in PPR or half PPR leagues. Jakobi Meyers, I have no reason why he would be available in over half of leagues. I don't know anything that he's ever done wrong this year. He just averages 30% or more target share every single week he's been healthy. Not to be outdone again. His first week back against the Lions, 38% target share, seeing 11 looks, 8 catches, 111 yards and a score. Yes, it came against the Lions. Everybody destroys the Lions. We get that. But still, to have Bailey Zappi walk in, like, it's not just a Mac Jones thing here. We know Jakobi Meyers can now get it done with anybody at the quarterback position. It is clear this remains a staple of the Patriots offense, just peppering the slot, whether it was Edelman, Welker, now Myers. He is just an every week hog. So go check out Jakobi Meyers, see if he's out there, especially in PPR or half. Should never have been dropped if you get points for those. The fact that he actually scoring touchdowns just shows you the type of ceiling. 24 fantasy points this week. You can bank on like 15 nearly, given the reception and yardage totals every week. But when now he starts adding touchdowns, the man is dangerous. Number 3, a guy I will continue to harp upon each and every week is Rachaad White. We've now seen 2 weeks in a row where Rachaad White is getting increased snap shares, 38 and 39% snaps across the past 2 weeks, near even route share, seeing 41% rather, routes, 22 for White, 28 for Lenny. So that's becoming a near even split. It's very similar, very akin to what Tony Pollard's role is in the Cowboys offense here. Now, granted, Fournette looks a lot better than Zeke at this stage of their career, so I don't think he's going to just hand over the reins. It's clear Tom Brady trusts him, especially last week, evidence with those 11 targets, 10 catches. When the going, it gets a little sketchy there in the fourth quarter. Fournette ended up playing nearly all the snaps. But the Bucs have had one of the hardest schedules to start the year. They now have a cakewalk schedule for nearly the rest of the season, and that could lead to Rachaad White getting some more burn to get him established with the team. We've seen, again, in less contested games like last week, that's when he picked it up with 5 catches, 50 yards, also got the goal line snaps. Clearly the team wants to get him involved, get his legs under him in case something does ever happen to Lenny. And if it does, remember, he's missed time in every single professional season, including 3+ games in 4 out of 5. if and when Lenny misses some time, you're looking at a top 10 running back that week. That's just how good this Bucs offense is and how good it is to its running backs. It's like David Johnson of 2016 if something happens to him. I'm telling you, you want Rachaad White. Don't be the one that then has to play Ken Walker catch up right now and bid all your money away to get Rachaad White. Have him on your bench. Have him ready. I have one other rookie running back a little bit later too that if something happens to the starter would be another 100% bid. So we'll talk about him when we get to my pick number 9. But moving on to number 4, we know everybody other than Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews owners really at this point. I guess Zach Ertz and Goddard, yes, they've been pretty steady too. But pretty much everything else at the tight end position is a barren wasteland. You're hoping for touchdowns or busts really at this point. So why not just toss in Taysom Hill? Because nobody has the weekly ceiling other than Kelce and Andrews of Taysom Hill. It is as boom or bust as can be, like even more so than this ridiculous position right now. You look at his fantasy total so far, 15, 1.4, a whopping 0, 8.1, and then, of course, 34.6 with 4 touchdowns. Yes, Travis Kelce's not the only 4-touchdown scorer on the day at the tight end position. That was Taysom Hill. Now, this blow-up day of over 34 fantasy points has Taysom Hill as the tight end 3 in fantasy right now in half PPR leagues. He has exactly 1 target on the year. So obviously this is not like a typical tight end. It's a interesting, just mind-blowing role. It's crazy that he's this involved. Without Sean Payton, it always was like he must have screwed Sean Payton's wife, and now he has to just continue to feed this guy for some reason. But no, whether it's a phantom coach, who knows what's going on, he is still clearly involved. Obviously, this is his magnum opus of the season so far. 9 carries, 112 yards, 3 scores, and then also passing a touchdown, 22-yard dart on 3rd down to add a passing touchdown to his day. So a monster performance for Taysom Hill this week. And Mike Triplett of NewOrleansFootball.com saying he expects Hill to remain a huge part of the Saints rushing offense, quote unquote. Obviously, no one can expect anything close to this level the rest of the year, but Sunday was a good reminder that Hill has always been and should remain a huge part of the New Orleans rushing package. And of note, per Nathan Janke, great recap article over on Pro Football Focus, talking about how even on 30% of the snaps, the big difference this week, we look at where he's lined up all year. 15 times at tight end, 12 times at wide receiver, 24 times at quarterback, and this week for the first time, 6 times in the backfield, particularly involved at the stripe. It's kind of a bane to us Kamara owners out there who did put up 20 points, was nice. It could be a huge day if we didn't have Taysom Hill vulturing him every time, but that's how it's going to be. And honestly, the way the Hill's performing, he gets it done. He's a bull. He's slamming linebackers to the ground. I mean, he's worth the value he's seeing. And I would love it to go to Kamara, but I don't think it's going to. Granted, again, the mind-numbing up and down, boom or bust nature, he's going to have you, 0 point is the floor. Like he's already had some 0 points, 1.4. The floor is very low, but that's the case for most tight ends. So why not put a guy in there that could genuinely win you a week at the position, as we just saw this week? Multiple touchdown days, more of them will be coming. Now, running back is already getting thin out there, and now with the bye weeks, week 6, where you're losing Derrick Henry, DeAndre Swift has been hurt, but expected to come back after the bye. Some big names. Jamal Williams will be out this week. Dameon Pierce, so many of you riding him. If you need an answer, if you're missing your running back 1 or 2 this week, I think Eno Benjamin has 20-point upside should he remain the lead back entering the week. Let's talk about why he has that. 8 carries, 25 yards, and a score in the loss to the Eagles. Also had 3 receptions for 28 yards, a healthy performance given that he didn't really do much until the second half. Connor had been playing nearly all the downs, 24 of 38 snaps, dominating the rushing work, splitting the passing game opportunity. We saw Eno Benjamin play 8 snaps in the first half. He then went on, because of injuries, to play 30 of the 31 snaps at running back. Darrell Williams went down. Connor went down with a rib injury. And even the backup, Jonathan Ward on special teams, has a hamstring ailment. So really, as of right now, Eno Benjamin's the last man standing. They might have truly no one else to go to on Sunday. Obviously, you have to monitor it, but he could be in line to be the only back they have against Seattle. So not only would just the role in it sputters at times, especially early in games, the Cardinals offense. Sure, it's not the beauty offense we've seen in years past, but they still move the ball better than the top half of the league. They're not horrible. The big thing is they get Seattle, and we know how bad Seattle is. 20-plus fantasy points in 3 straight weeks to a running back. 5th most points on the season to the running back position. Only Houston has allowed more running back rushing yards. It's a gorgeous matchup. He's involved Benjamin as a receiver, as a runner, and could see 20 to 25 touches against a porous run defense. If you need a back this week, I say right here, 15 to 20%. But if you got bye week blues, if you're like 1-4 and desperate for a fill-in for now, I think this guy could really just dominate in week 6 here. So check out Eno Benjamin if you're desperate for a running back. I'd say bid even like 30 to 35 if you're really, really desperate right now at the position. Not because it probably won't last more than a week, but sometimes you just need that win. You need to get your season on track, and you're facing some tough bye weeks to do it. Benjamin could be the ultimate bye week plug-in for you. I can't believe it. I've mentioned him on the Waiver Wire show plenty of times, Geno Smith. Now up to 35% rostered. Don't miss the boat. If he's somehow still out in your league, whether you're QB needy or not, it's a weird year for the quarterback position. And Geno Smith is now inside your top 7 fantasy QBs on the year. The fact that he now did a solid on the Saints, a good defense here. If there was, of course he has top 7 numbers against the Lions. Everybody does that, right? Well, he just did it against the Saints, who had previously been a bottom 5 matchup for quarterbacks. Geno goes 16 of 25 for 268, 3 touchdowns, also adding 13 rushing yards on the ground. He's just getting it done every which way. He's feeding his main weapons in Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf for nearly 60% of his targets, and they are just doing the work. He himself, though, is looking damn solid. He actually leads the NFL in adjusted completion rate. If you look at Pro Football Focus's adjusted rate, where they account for drops and whatnot, he is number 1 in the league right now. Some people are honestly clamoring that he is making an MVP case with how well he is throwing. He's on time. He's on target. Those bombs that require that beautiful Russ Wilson chemistry with Tyler Lockett. So we thought Geno's dropping it right into the breadbasket. Maybe, especially after what we're seeing out of Russell in Denver, maybe it wasn't so much Russell doing magic as it was just these 2 receivers on the outside making life easy for him. So I love Geno Smith, as mentioned earlier with Kenneth Walker, 7th in points per game. Seattle offenses, they're number 1 in points per play. And the best part is their defense is absolutely atrocious. Couple quick things on this offense as a whole that I just love to see. They 28% of their drives ended a TD. That's 6th in the league. This is per Dwayne McFarland, one of my favorite analysts out there. 11 seconds average on neutral play clock, 6th fastest pace in the league. 35% of their opponents' drives end with a TD. That's 1st in the league. So we're getting that perfect recipe that's working for Jared Goff so far this year. Horrendous defense, capable quarterback thrown to amazing weapons right now. It is working out perfectly. And again, he also has the 6th most designed rushes. So a little bit of Konami upside to Geno too. Now he's got 4 of his 5 games have been 17 or more fantasy points. Really just 1 dud on the year. The floor looks good. The ceiling looks great. Geno Smith, truly a quarterback 1 from here on out, like better than Matthew Stafford. It's crazy. I can't believe these words are coming out of my mouth, but they are. Wolfpack, I'm going to go quickly through my next guys. Before I do, I have a quick ad read. Got to keep the lights on over here. So a thumbs up button before we get queued up for the final top 10 and then the rapid fire top 20 for you would be so appreciated. But let me tell you quickly about No House Advantage. They are changing the game by offering the most dynamic fantasy sports platform available today. Play in pick'em contests versus other people for the shot at winning $250K plus in cash. Download the app, choose a contest, select your player props, earn points for correct picks, and climb the leaderboard for your shot to win big money every day. You can also test your skills versus the house in 20 extra entry if you hit all the picks. Bet on up to 5 player prop over-unders or individual player matchups across every major sport league, including NFL, NBA, MLB, PGA, MMA, and NASCAR. Sign up with promo code RSJ, all caps, at nohouseadvantage.com. Link is also in the description. I'm sure CJ watching will comment it out there for you as well. First deposit will be matched up to $25. Check out, again, No House Advantage today. Experience daily sports redefined. It's not just how you play, but also where you play. You don't want to miss out on this. Do us a solid, Wolfpack. It's our last week of our month-long deal with them. They've been very kind to us. We want to continue to send users to their great game. We're already seeing Wolfpack members up. Multiple guys are up over $1,000 on their picks. Our man CJ has come a hair from winning nearly $10,000 one week. He was 1 prop away on a Thursday night contest. Tons of overlay. Great site. Cannot recommend it enough. Great site, great app. Go check them out, Wolfpack. All righty. Continuing forward with our Week 6 waiver wire picks. Mike Boone. I might have to take the L on this one. And I don't think it's going to be a huge L, but I called him the waiver wire fool's gold last week. Got a lot of views on that video. A lot of people commenting that I was an idiot. Nice. Thank you, guys. 35% rostered. And I'm not convinced. I'm not sitting here saying I'm going to eat crow and I've accepted Mike Boone is going to be a monster the rest of the year. But I will say a few things really encourage me. First, he just looked a lot better than Melvin Gordon. Gordon went 15 for 54. He did have a nice broken tackle and ripped 49 yards in the receiving game on 3 catches. Looked solid there. Did dominate the work early on in the game, but it seemed like the team started to get a little fed up with Melvin Gordon. He kept running and showing no real vision, had a near fumble, which, again, he could get benched on the snap of a finger with that. And ultimately, in the second half, Mike Boone played 20 snaps compared to 13 for Melvin Gordon, kind of took over. He was far more efficient with his work, 38 yards on 7 carries and 47 yards on 3 receptions. So right there as a nice receiving option, looked great in the screen game, making tacklers miss, creating on his own, showing great vision. Remember, that's what he's always been known for, is churning yards after contact despite his small frame. He was top 6 in that metric when he took over for the Vikings down their last end-of-season stretch. Boone is good. I mean, he passed the eyeball test certainly on Thursday. The one thing you do want to consider is Latavius Murray, 19% rostered, will also be back. He did not play, not because of inability, but because short travel date coming from London, just didn't have enough time to get his feet fully under him to fully learn the playbook. But he could be involved. This could become a 3-headed nightmare, and then you want nobody involved here. But right now, Boone did look solid, played on 8 of the 12 third downs, and again, outsnapped Melvin Gordon in the second half, which maybe that's signaling changing of the guard, at least worth a roster spot to see how this pans out, despite how hideous this offense is. Another guy from last Thursday who really flashed, Alec Pierce. And it wasn't just last Thursday. This is now 3 weeks in a row. We've really seen some solid play out of Alec Pierce. Most impressive, though, last week against the Broncos. A good secondary, limiting receivers to the second fewest points. And Pierce comes out and wallops him for 8 catches and 81 yards on his 9 targets. Now, dating back to last, 2 weeks ago. So for 2 weeks in a row before last week, he had been under 50% route share. So he played about 1 full game across 2 weeks. In that span, he saw 11 targets, 7 catches, 141 yards, making big plays, damage after the catch, contested catch monster, but 9.1, 12, and 16.1 fantasy points across the last 3 weeks, now including this week. Looking very, very solid. He's got 3.08 yards per route run. That's leading all of the Indy pass catchers by a significant stretch. It's actually 3rd among all NFL receivers since week 3 when we started to see him really get involved. He was hurt, remember, at the beginning of the season. 11.8 average depth of target, almost doubling up Michael Pittman right now. And keep in mind, Michael Pittman, 5 catches, 59 yards, was outplayed in every single facet by Alec Pierce, who got it done intermediate, got it done deep, got it done at the line and made people miss. I mean, the guy's got every down ability. And this was the first week we saw 75% or more route share. Paris Campbell continues to be absolutely and utterly useless. So I think Alec Pierce, the takeover as the wide receiver 2 and like 100% route share, should not be too far off. And he's already feasting before he gets there. Great talent, soft schedule the rest of the year. Really, really like Alec Pierce to settle into a nice, comfortable wide receiver 3 role. Another guy I hinted at earlier, Ken Walker blowing 100% of your FAAB. Rachaad White would be 100% worthy of all FAAB should something happen to Lenny Fournette. If something happens to Najee Harris, Jaylen Warren would also warrant just about 100% of your FAAB as well. And it might not even require an injury at this point because Warren has been so much better than Najee Harris so far this season, so much more efficient, so much more explosive. Let's talk about some of these comparisons and metrics, but also note that Warren actually played 51% of the snaps in week 5. It was due to a blowout, but no other starters other than Najee Harris really hit the bench. And after the game, Mike Tomlin did say, we've been playing Jaylen Warren more, and we will continue to do so. Kind of airing subtly his frustrations to the running back position so far. Now, on the season, we have 82 touches for Najee Harris, 26 touches for Jaylen Warren. They have gained an equal amount of 10-plus yard carries. Harris with 7, Warren for 7, or touches rather. So I mean, again, on literally a fourth of the touches, Warren is producing as many explosive plays as Najee Harris. So he has outplayed him throughout the year. He's twice as many avoided tackles per carry, a higher first down rate, higher yards after contact per carry figure than Najee Harris. Really, in every single rate, even as a receiver, he's making more plays. And that was the big thing with Najee is, yeah, he's inefficient. Yeah, he's not a great rusher, but at least he's dominating as a receiver. Not this year. He's been so sluggish with everything. He's, again, 4 explosive runs this season compared to 5 for Harris, despite, again, a quarter of the carries, 25%. So we're seeing the snaps already go up. Now we got the efficiency so much more. Harrison, meanwhile, 37th in Pro Football Focus's elusive rating, 44th in breakaway, like looking horrible all around, whereas Jaylen Warren continues to thrive. Saw this comparison on Twitter from Davis Maddock. Najee Harris versus Trent Richardson across their first 22 career games, almost spot on. Like a little more yards, 1,422 rush yards to 1,283 for Trent Richardson, 3.4 yards a carry for Trent, 3.8 for Najee, but just complete and utter inefficiency after these guys look like future studs. A lot of Devy comparisons being made to Trent Richardson, like sell Najee as fast as you can. I don't know if I buy that. Maybe he rebounds in the future, but this doesn't look like his season. It doesn't look like the Steelers' season. And if it becomes out of reach sooner than later, don't be shocked if they just shut down Najee for the year and let Warren do his thing to kind of get their lead guy of the future back and healthy. Either way, we know if something happens to him, that Mike Tomlin, 80% like workload opportunity share when he has a lead back, whether it's Connor, Willie Parker, obviously Le'Veon Bell for so many years. The Tomlin way is a bell cow back, and Jaylen Warren could become that at some point this year. He's already starting to eat into the workload. Rounding up my top 10 for the week is Rondale Moore. 7 of 8 targets, 68 yards, solid overall effort on a 21% target share. Not bad. The big thing was he moved right back into a full-time slot role. No Greg Dortch to be seen. Played 63 of 69 snaps, ran routes on 41 of the 45 routes, and saw 8 of 38 targets. So again, 21% share, not too shabby, even with A.J. Green back. So right back into his slot role. Yes, we saw the A dot go back down, but the guy's really just dangerous after the catch. That's why we want him an occasional just deep bomb when the defense is overplaying it. 8.5 yards per target. That's compared to his career average of 6.7. Not bad. Nearly 2 more yards per target. If he just continues to play that 72 snaps per game, given that this offense continues to produce, they're down big and they just continue to feed their wide receivers in this air raid, you're probably looking at 6 to 8 weekly catches out of the slot there. Even with Hopkins back, Marquise Brown might be tough to sustain more than 6 to 8, but viable role. Looks like he's clearly ahead of A.J. Green, clearly ahead of Greg Dortch at this point. So with that slot role unlocked, Rondale Moore could make a lot of sense the rest of the year. Now moving forward with some other, like I mentioned, it's a very loaded waiver wire this week. And again, that thumbs up would be so greatly appreciated if you haven't already hit it for us. If you're new here, subs, likes, whether you're catching the replay or live with us, be so greatly appreciated. Let's talk about a few other names, though. I thought it was really loaded. I'll go through these names quicker. I wanted to hit the top 10 and then get you some stat lines that are catching my eye on the waiver wire. Hayden Hurst, 31% rostered, and Evan Engram, 21% rostered. Definitely Hurst would be preferred. 6 to 7 targets, hauls in 6, 53 yards and a score. Just a solid top 5 tight end for this week. That's now back-to-back weeks. He's cleared 10 fantasy points. A nice low-end tight end one, and certainly if we see T. Higgins miss any times, even higher target share potentially for Hayden Hurst, but every week playing 80 to 90% of the snaps, 80 to 90% of the routes in a good offense, touchdown upside. He's this year's Dawson Knox. It's really coming to fruition. Now, Evan Engram seems almost like kind of empty volume, high volume, low efficiency role so far, but a tight end volume, it's really all you can ask for. Saw 10 targets, season high this last week, called in 6 for 69. A full PPR league, 12 points. That's gold mine for tight ends, but even that 9.9, he hasn't cleared 10 yet on the year, hasn't found the end zone yet on the year, but he's near every down player. He's running all the routes from the tight end position. There's no, Dan, whatever his freaking name was, everyone was worried about coming in and stealing the work. No, it's Engram. It's the Engram show, and he's a top 10 among all tight ends and all receivers actually in routes run and targets so far on the year. You don't find that type of work I hate that he's not doing much with it, but he's a plus athlete. Will find the end zone sooner than later. So those are two potential useful tight ends. If you miss out on Taysom Hill, I have one more tight end for you later that I sneaky really like in very, very deep leagues. Khalil Shakir, definitely worth mentioning. Now, he might just shift right back to the bench to never be heard of again. It required Dawson Knox being out, especially Isaiah McKenzie. We know that we won't see Jamison Crowder for at least 3 more weeks, but McKenzie seemed pretty close to clearing the protocol. I expect him to be back. I also want to highly encourage 48% rostered right now. Check your leagues for McKenzie. In my list, I said this was a loaded list. He would rank probably top 5 on this list if he's out there in 48% of leagues. Owning that slot role with no Jamison Crowder, I think McKenzie would be an absolute monster for the next 4 weeks or so. And he might just fully, again, averaging nearly 20 points per game when he plays 80% or more of the snaps. Could be a beast. So check for McKenzie. But if he misses another game, Shakir, 3 catches, 75, and a score over 15 fantasy points. We talked about him as our favorite plug-and-play of the week, and he certainly came through and delivered. We have a game versus the Chiefs coming up this weekend. You want a piece of that action? What a cheap, easy way to get in. Should McKenzie miss the game, I think Shakir would be right back into our top 40 wide receivers, like where we had him last week for 15-plus point upside. So go check him out. There was 56 total snaps. He played 39 of them, seeing 5 targets, running 28 routes. That was just 4 less than Stephon Diggs. So very involved, an every down player nearly while the starters were in. Looked real solid. Now, if you miss out on Geno, maybe Geno's not out there and you need a quarterback. Kenny Pickett, 16% rostered. It was a tough game. Buffalo's also given up the fewest points to quarterbacks by a wide margin, it's like 8 points right now on the season. And you look at what Kenny Pickett did. So far this year, no quarterback had cleared 240 yards against Buffalo. Stafford, 240. Tannehill, 117. Tua, 186. Lamar Jackson, 144. Kenny Pickett comes in and goes for 327 against this ferocious secondary. It wasn't great. He had the tough pick. He made some questionable throws, but he also attacked him deep downfield, was not too scared. The moment wasn't too big. And I know that sounds ridiculous to say when they lost 31-3, but he looked poised out there. He looked ready to go. He was there. His teammates were all about him. He got sacked, picked him right up, getting rallying around their boy. It's clear the team loves him. And 52 attempts is no joke. And I don't think that's going to be an anomaly here. This defense is horrendous. At this point, Derek Watt probably won't come back. He had a surgery already. He was kind of feeling it out. Do I wait it out? Do I come back and, try to just rehab it? Nah. He's going to probably shut himself down for the year with this team abysmal. Maybe one of the worst teams in the NFL, certainly one of the worst defenses. So I think they're going to have to continue to chuck week in and week out. And they already, remember, first in pass attempts with Big Ben in the last few years, and Big Ben's a corpse. So 50-plus attempts might not be a crazy weekly estimate for Kenny Pickett, and it will soften up. Tampa Bay this week, 22nd in points allowed. So not a great matchup, but much more exploitable than the Bills. We've seen some quarterbacks have big days against them. So if you need a streamer, if you're relying on Jared Goff like I am, Pickett, not a bad play. And down the stretch, Atlanta, 10th most points allowed. Baltimore, 4th most points allowed. The Raiders, 3rd most points allowed. And Baltimore, again, 4th most points allowed. That's 4 top 5 matchups and 5 top 10 matchups to close out his season. So, it's ugly now, but while he gets his feet under him, he has elite weaponry, pass-happy attack. Really big fan of Kenny Pickett. Wanted to hit on a couple Chiefs tonight after an interesting Monday Night Football of usage and a close script. We saw Jerick McKinnon, 10% rostered right now, take over the lead in snaps again. Played 58 of 72 snaps. Oh, no, that's MVS, sorry, rather. McKinnon himself, though, 38 of the 48 running back snap, 72 snaps. 38 of them went to McKinnon compared to 31 for Clyde Edwards-Helaire, only 2 for Pacheco. So it's clear McKinnon's right back into his role in a close game, going to play more of the snaps, played 6 of the 8 goal line snaps, played every single one of the 3rd down and 2-minute drill snaps as well. The high value snaps, are going to Jerick McKinnon right now at 10% rostered. And this was the week that the floor kind of fell out from under CEH. Without the touchdowns, we saw this was the concern. This is why he's been a sell recommendation by a lot of people, and rightfully so, clearly. Didn't find the end zone, had a much less efficient night. McKinnon, meanwhile, sees the more valuable work in close contested games. What are we going to get this week against the Bills? A close contested game. Expect a lot of McKinnon, making him a viable punt if you miss on Eno Benjamin. If Kenneth Walker's not there for you, McKinnon's out there in your league most likely, and 10% rostered can be a viable stream in your league. And I also want to mention Marquez Valdes-Scantling, who played 58 of 72 snaps, 42 of 48 routes, and saw 8 targets, tied with Travis Kelce and Juju Smith-Schuster for the lead there. But he led the team MVS in yardage with 90 yards. Really diverse route tree. That kind of hype we saw in the preseason of him expanding to more than just a deep threat was coming to fruition this week. Showed a better rapport with Mahomes than we've seen all season. They're clearly hoping somebody emerges at the receiver position because Juju hasn't done much. Sky Moore has barely played. Maybe MVS continues to separate from the pack here. Definitely viable in that shootout style game at 37% rostered. Check him out. Went into depth, so if you want more info on Jameson Williams, there's a clip on our YouTube. You can watch and rewind to last week's show. Won't go as in-depth tonight, but 31% rostered. Bye week this week for the Lions. I expect him to be coming back afterwards. And remember, before this week, they're down to third right now, but most points in the league per game entering this week before they were shut out. Most yards in the league entering the game before, again, an abysmal effort. While giving up the most points in most yards, that remains intact as well. So this is a team, the Lions, constantly playing catch-up that for the majority of the year has shown they've got the horses. Jared Goff can keep a track meet up with most of these other defenses. The Pats have always had Jared Goff's number. That was no different this week, but Jameson Williams will be the most explosive weapon they have. I know St. Brown is working the intermediates of the field and dominating. He's the best receiver on the team. I get that. But just sheer explosiveness, Jameson Williams has like Tyreek Hill level in a bigger body type of explosion. This guy can wreck games. And there's very few and far between like game-breaking talent available on the waiver wire, certainly this late in the year. It typically ends up being rookies, and rookies most often are those stretch run winners, especially at the wide receiver position from A.J. Brown. Like every year, there's a few of them. George Pickens is already showing it. I think Jameson Williams, when he comes back, gets his legs under him for those final 6-7 weeks, this guy could be blowing defenses up, lifting the lid. Cannot wait to see him come back. I mean, look at what Josh Reynolds, if you need a bridge in case Jameson's not back, 31% roster Josh Reynolds right now. 11, 12, 17, and then 18 points his last 3 games, averaging nearly 16 points per game across his last 4. TD in 3 of the last 4 games. The guy is just good. He's got good chemistry with Jared Goff. So Josh Reynolds also could be your bridge there. Another stash, though, a new one for this week. James Cook, 29% rostered. He gets 4 carries, 31 yards, and a touchdown. Now, most of that came in garbage time. In a game like this week against the Chiefs, I don't think we'll see him play a snap. That's when you see Devin Singletary, their trusted weapon, taking on nearly 80% of the snaps. But in blowout games and outside of this Chiefs game, I mean, the rest of the schedule for the Bills is a cakewalk. I expect them to be blowing out teams more weeks than they're not. And I expect James Cook to start getting a healthy, let's get our rookie going here type of effort, which we saw starting this week. Also, if you're in a keeper league, I keep getting questions like, who's the guy I might be able to stash in a keeper league that people aren't thinking of? Devin Singletary and Zach Moss are both free agents at the end of this year. Good chance they re-sign at least Singletary, but what if they don't? James Cook would be the number 1 running back ascending into that role with the number 1 offense in the league. Entering next year, if that kind of remained intact, you'd got to think he's probably a late second rounder at worst. There are rumblings they might trade for McCaffrey, and this entire take becomes null. Just going to get a quick excitement downstairs thinking of the idea of McCaffrey in this Bills offense. All that being said, until that happens, James Cook, I think that role is going to continue to get elevated. He looks damn good every time we see him play. Involved as a receiver, as a runner, has all the skills. Definitely worthwhile of a stash. Now let me rip through. Well, if all these guys are owned in my league, man, you're giving me nobody to even look at. Well, if that's you, here's some names. All these guys are 5% or fewer rostered. I still, again, think a lot of them could come into some viability and be used in your deeper 14, 16, whatever team leagues. One is Randall Cobb, 13 targets, hauls in 7 for 99. It is clear Aaron Rodgers loves this guy still. Most trusted weapon, more so than Dubs, more so than Lazard. The ceiling is lower than either of those guys. There's no doubt about it. Scoreless on the season so far. A meh player. But when they need to move the change, this is who Aaron Rodgers is looking at. So Randall Cobb, definitely a player that has that rapport. Solid outings in PPR leagues are going to continue to come. Josh Kelly, only 2% rostered, but it is now clear he is the lead back behind Austin Eckler. There's no more him and Sony Michel. Who's it going to be? The team has clearly handed the reins over to Joshua Kelly. Played 27 snaps. Eckler had 42. Sony Michel, 2 snaps, 1 carry. And Kelly actually looked pretty damn good. 10 carries, 49 yards, and a score. Also adding 33 yards on 2 catches. If something happens to Eckler, and we've seen him miss time in multiple seasons, look at what Justin Jackson did last year. 30 points in his 1 start. That's how good this offense is. That's how much they like to use their running backs as receivers, as pass catchers, as runners. If something happens to or Austin Eckler, rather, Josh Kelly might be a low-end RB1, and he's owned virtually nowhere right now. Especially if you have Eckler, I'd consider rostering Kelly as an elite handcuff. He'd be right alongside like Jaylen Warren, Rachaad White. If something happened to Eckler, people would be blowing 40 to 50% of their FAAB on him now that we have a clear-cut number 2 behind Austin Eckler. So check him out. Check out Tevin Coleman potentially. 1% roster right now. 8 carries, 23 yards, touchdown on the ground, in addition to 44 yards on 3 catches and another touchdown. Kind of sucks for Jeff Wilson owners. I didn't even know Tevin Coleman was on the team till this Sunday. But here he is, elevated from the practice squad, has a great history under Kyle Shanahan, clearly knows the offense and clearly knows how to find the end zone still, and gets Atlanta in week 6, a very viable. Again, you miss out on Eno Benjamin. You miss out on Jerick McKinnon even. I'm telling you, I think Tevin Coleman is a bet to find the end zone yet again in a game that they should control handedly against this pathetic Falcons team. Coleman definitely has a shot. He is the clear-cut number 2 behind Wilson. So if anything happens to Wilson, it's not Jordan Mason. It'd be Tevin Coleman. So you got a little bit of handcuff with benefit upside to Tevin Coleman right now. Played 19 snaps compared to 38 for Jeff Wilson. Ran 7 routes, had 3 targets, more than Jeff Wilson on the day. So Tevin Coleman, clear-cut backup, handcuff with benefits, not bad to consider. And Cade Otton wraps up my deep league stashes, 2% roster right now. Ran more routes, 87%. Played more snaps, 94%. Not than Kyle Rudolph, who saw 2 routes. Than every single Bucks player. More than Mike Evans. More than Chris Godwin. Yes, he didn't go like the world on fire with this increased usage, 6 for 47. But again, a tight end, especially in a PPR league, that's not bad. That's pretty damn good at this pathetic, abysmal position. The big thing that I saw, though, wasn't just the increased usage. Again, clearly ahead of Kyle Rudolph. And who knows what happens when Brake comes back. I get that's why he's playing so much right now. But he's impressing. Do they really need to play Brake anymore if Cade Otton, this rookie they hand-selected, is impressing the way he is? The big thing I saw was big, clear chemistry with Tom Brady. Trust throws, timing throws, contested throws, working the middle of the seams, converting third downs. Brady was going to this guy. So I really like Cade Otton. If you're desperate at tight end, you miss on Taysom, Hayden Hurst isn't there. I mean, right alongside Evan Engram, I really like this Cade Otton kid. And last and probably least, Marvin Jones sees 11 targets, 5% rostered, 7 catches, and 104. I don't think that's going to happen every week. I don't think he's a viable every week play by any means. Look no further than last week where he saw 1 target and didn't catch it. Most weeks, it's going to be a Christian Kirk outshow than Marvin Jones. But it goes to show you the veteran receiver can still get it done in the right spots. The Texans were the right spot. Maybe he's ahead of Zay Jones at this point, makes Zay Jones a little more expendable. Something worth considering. And then Nico Collins, he's more than the 5% threshold, but 21% rostered, 4 catches, 6 targets, 65 yards, 66% of the air yards in this game. This is now a week after he went 82 on 3 catches. So guys making plays, looking solid. If this offense had any type of life more than they do right now, he'd probably be a far more viable play. Very, very talented kid, though. Would feel good about him in my dynasty leagues. The last thing I don't even have a banner for it. I do have a banner. So correct that. It's time to start thinking about Deshaun Watson. 14% rostered, at least if you're a scumbag like me. And I shouldn't say that. If you believe in fantasy karma, maybe you don't go here. But anytime he's played a season, he's been a top 5 quarterback for however long he's been out there in points per game. A lot of us are very desperate at the quarterback position right now. I'm riding Jared Goff, and it goes from 30 to 5 every week. So I am definitely starting to think about Deshaun Watson. I missed out on Geno Smith. You have to wait till week 11, but guess what? He's walking into the Texans. That might be 30-point day right there. And he could be a top 6 quarterback down your stretch. It's still a little early. I probably won't go for him quite yet, just because, again, I have to have Goff, and I have to now pick up a backup. I don't know if I can roster 3 quarterbacks, especially when I don't, Watson, isn't going to be in for another 6 weeks. But when he comes back, we're talking about a top 5 upside here with Deshaun Watson. So, especially in a 2QB super flex league, keeper type of league, if he's out there and you can keep him for like a round 10 price next year, and again, super flex especially, by this time next year, probably looked at as a top 5 quarterback, as he always has been. This offense has been pretty kind. Like Jacoby Brissett's top 15 on the year right now. He hasn't even looked that good. He's been okay. He's been game managing. So when they have Watson come in and start slinging that thing, again, top 5 upside, start thinking about him. Start thinking about Donovan Peoples-Jones. I mean, this is the guy that you can kind of actually use in your bye week crunches. He had another 4 catches on 50 yards total, 7 targets, playing 95% of the snaps or more throughout the entire season. 3rd game of the year with 7+ targets and 50 more yards. He's been okay. He hasn't cleared 10 fantasy points in half PPR, but we've seen 30% target share some weeks for Donovan Peoples-Jones. And then you mix in the fact that when Watson comes back, rumored in training camp to be his favorite target the entire camp, great deep ball separator. We've seen it. We know that Deshaun Watson has a top 5 deep ball according to Pro Football accuracy grades, all that stuff. DPJ is going to take off once Watson's back. He's already kind of useful. So, guy to consider for your stretch runs. All righty, Wolfpack. That is all. Again, as I told you, pretty loaded. Like I usually only go through 10 names. Those were the 20 names. I really thought there's a lot of people to consider this week. Try to get it done in under 45. I did. Let me hit you real quick with your defensive streamers for week 6, and then it's on to all your questions for this stream. Defensive streamers for week 6, though. I'm starting with Baltimore Ravens, 54% rostered right now. So good chance they're gone in your league. But if not, facing a Giants team that's, 4-1, but that offense, come on, we know, besides Saquon, nothing special. The Ravens are most susceptible to the pass, giving up the most passing yards in the league, but Daniel Jones is not a passer. That threatens anybody. I think John Harbaugh, good defensive mind, sells out to stop Saquon. Giants have an abysmal effort, and 7+ points in 3 of their 5 weeks, 11+ in 2 of their 5 weeks, and they've faced some really good offenses, this Ravens team has. This is probably the worst offense they've faced yet. Good chance for the Ravens to go for 12, 15+. So I'd check for them first. Now, if they're gone, which they are again in over half the league, so I wanted to do a first check for them. The Bengals are my top play available in most leagues. 28% rostered right now at the Saints, which isn't quite as juicy if Winston doesn't play. Not quite as turnover under Andy Dalton, but he's throwing his fair shares of picks. He's not looking very good. The offense certainly looked better with a healthy Kamara, with Taysom Hill menacing out there. But still, this has been a good defense, sneaky. We got Burrow and Chase and T. Higgins. They get all the attention. But Cincinnati's 13th in total defense, 8th in scoring defense, 4th in total takeaways, and 10th in total fantasy points, facing good offenses. They just held the Ravens to 19 points. They've held every single opponent they've played to 20 or fewer, in fact. The Saints have given up, meanwhile, 14 sacks, leading the NFL in giveaways with 13, and they're allowing the 3rd most points to team defenses. So good matchup and a sneaky underrated defense right now. I like the Bengals. I think this is a good spot to use them. If you miss out on them, 9% rostered, the Bears. Not a good defense at all. 22nd in total defense, 15th in scoring defense. Toward the bottom of the NFL with sacks. 22nd among defenses in fantasy points. Not a team that you typically want to use. But Thursday night short weeks, we've seen it. Look no further than last week's absolute shitfest. So this game promises to be more of the shitty saying. It can't be worse, I don't think. I'm going to knock on wood. I don't want to jinx that. But they are facing the Commanders, this Bears team. They are allowing the 4th most points allowed to defenses. They've given up at least 6 fantasy points to everyone they faced. 18-10 in their last 2. And they're bad. A short week with 11-4 unders hitting in primetime Thursday right now. They had 5 sacks. So some stats on how bad this Carolina team is. Giving up 5. So the Bears, 5 sacks, 14, allowing a decent amount of points. Like, this is just a good spot for the Bears. Carson Wentz just kind of like convulses and throws the ball up and gives up horrible picks. And they actually are decent on takeaways so far. They aren't getting a lot of sacks. On the other side of the ball, too, you consider the Commanders. I would go to the Bears first. I'd go to the Bengals first. I'd go to the Panthers, who we're going to talk about in a second first. Commanders, though, might not be a horrible play. You have 14 sacks on the year. 25 points allowed in the year is bad. They're 31st in total fantasy points, so it's not a good play. But the Bears, 16 points per game, 4 sacks given up per game. If they do one thing well, the Commanders, it's pressure the quarterback. So another 4 to 5 sacks this week might not make them the worst play. But why do I like the Panthers? Why would I have such an awful team that just fired its head coach on this list? Well, for one, a lot of times you see a coach get fired, the interim coach comes in and just fires up the troops and they have their best game of the year. Steve Wilks is a defensive-minded guy. He's, I think, going to come in, get this team fired up, and we're going to see a real solid effort. They're facing as well the Rams, who have given up a touchdown in 2 straight games. They've given up a touchdown in 3 of their 5 games. They've given up 16 or more fantasy points in 4 of their 5 games, including Atlanta. It's not like they've been faced some good defenses, but not all. So this is the Panthers, as bad as they are, their defense actually has some talent. So with the coaching switch, with the fired up motivation this week, and facing a very turnover-prone, horrible offense, league-leading 21 sacks have been allowed to Matthew Stafford, just getting battered, 12 giveaways, second most in the NFL, has all the makings. Yeah, the Rams will probably put up some points, maybe 20 or so, but defensive touchdown, 3-4 sacks, like that's in the realm of possibility for the Panthers, who are the bare minimum price on DraftKings as well this week. So check them out as the Stone Cold Load DraftKings and maybe as a potential streamer. But Bengals first, Bears second, Panthers third, and maybe the Commanders if you need it. And, of course, check for the Ravens, the Pats, some teams that have good defenses that are also out there in a lot of leagues. Whew, alrighty. Loaded waiver wire. But now it is time to hear what your questions and quandaries are, folks. The mailbag. If you haven't got your question in, get it on in. Call-in link is there. We give preference to call-ins and super chats. I'll stay live till about 8:15, 8:20 or so. Should be able to get through the mailbag, but if you want to support the show, you want to call in, please do so. Starting it off with us tonight is David Campanelli, keeping the streak alive. Love to see it, my man. How are we tonight on Tuesday?
Panic mode. Absolute panic mode.
Oh, don't tell me this, Campanelli. What's going on?
So it's a full PPR league. I'm in last place currently.
No.
Which it just seems like nothing is falling my way. Like this team was built perfectly and the pieces just don't work together each week.
Damn.
It's like, Kupp goes off and Stafford goes off and then, St. Brown and Connor do nothing that week and then vice versa. So I guess where my question lies is, when it comes to like a Jaylen Warren type or or even like a Raheem Mostert, because I still see he's available in this league.
Oh, go get him.
Is like a Connor or a Zeke expendable at this point in the season? Or am I putting too much faith in Mostert in that ticking time bomb knee?
I mean, I definitely want to get Mostert. I don't know who you have that's expendable, but this was the takeover week for Mostert. I'm pulling it up right now because I meant to talk to him on the recap show that we didn't end up getting in. But Mostert was one of the clear-cut biggest risers of the week. And I have some notes on him. I think our boy Emery wrote about him on the website too. So yes. Let me just pull that up. Mostert. This document's loading here. You have to go get him. I don't know that you can cut Zeke until we see Dak and that offense and what it's going to be, because he's still getting, 15, 20 touches every single week. I know it's not sexy, but it's happening. So I would have a hard time passing up on him. Maybe Connor, depending on what the latest is on this injury. But here's the Mostert stats. So 69% of the snaps, 73% of the attempts, 60% long down and distance, 100% of 2 minutes. That was the big change. Is him picking up all the 2-minute offense as well. 19.2 fantasy points to mimic that 70% type of workload. 18 carries, 113 and a score. I mean, he's got to be rostered. I'm shocked he's out there in your league. I would want to know who else is expendable. Maybe Connor is. Like, I probably might rather have Mostert at this point because Connor can't stay healthy and doesn't look that good anyways. But who else could you potentially cut?
I have Josh Reynolds and Zay Jones, but I have a claim in right now for Geno because I have Stafford and Goff as my QBs.
Oh, I thought you picked up Geno this week.
No, I missed out on him, and then somebody dropped him. So
okay.
Very happy. And then I have
go get him.
I could have a claim in right now to drop Zay Jones and get Jakobi Meyers. So I have like Reynolds and Jones that are expendable.
Oh yeah, cut Reynolds. Yeah, bye week. Like you probably don't need him anymore, especially if you're getting Myers in a PPR. Bam, you don't have to worry about cutting Connor or Zeke quite yet. Cut those two receivers definitely.
Yeah, and so then you would recommend going drop Zay Jones for Myers and then Reynolds for Mostert.
Yeah, and who are you dropping for Geno?
That's where I run into some sort of a quandary, but I do get Jared Goff next week back. I'm tempted to drop. Well, yeah, I'd have to figure it all out.
Yeah, definitely start with those two receivers. If you really need to send Connor packing, might not be the worst of all these options in a shallower league like that with shallower benches. Could potentially swing that. I wouldn't cut Zeke quite yet, though. He's still seeing good volume. He doesn't look good, but I think the touchdowns will eventually start to fall his way when this offense gets back in gear with Dak. So I wouldn't cut him quite yet.
Okay. Thanks, Wolf. I appreciate it.
Thanks for keeping the streak alive, David. Good luck. Have a great rest of your night, bud.
You too.
Thank you. All righty, Wolfpack. On to your questions. How good is Alec Pierce rest of the season? Jose, I already talked about him at length. I think he's a quality wide receiver 3. If you missed out, rewind the show. You'll see Alec Pierce's banner, and I'll give you all the reasons why, but I definitely love him rest of year. Half point. Etienne or James Robinson rest of the season? Good question, Russell. You asked me this a week ago. I would have said J. Rob, and I wouldn't have thought twice. Still think Dougie loves James Robinson enough, and the touchdown upside's higher with him, so I'd probably lean him. But all the metrics, I mean, go to Ian Harditz's page. Every single metric about Etienne is outplaying James Robinson from an efficiency, from a talent, all that standpoint. It looks like they're starting to hand more and more over to him. He was definitely one of the bigger risers, Etienne, of the week. But gun to my head, I still think I have Robinson just a little bit higher. The Etienne explosion could be coming, but I think it might always be capped with Robinson around too. I think it would require an injury to to Robinson for him to fully explode. Should take Myers over Gallup. Moreno, that depends on your needs. If you have the ability to be patient right now, I think long-term Gallup has a much, much higher ceiling when Dak's back, when this offense is fully clicking. Don't think we want to undersell how good this Cowboys team is when Dak and Kellen Moore are all going together. But if you need a receiver this week, if you need that immediate injection of talent, Myers is going to get you 11 to 15 to 20 if he scores a touchdown points. Like he's got that nice baked-in floor, very, very solid. So I'd rather have Gallup in most cases, but if I am in win now mode, I cannot wait for Gallup to reunite with Dak and all that, then I go for Myers. Tunes dropped Ken Walker last week in 2 leagues. Oh no. I hope I didn't fully endorse that because talented rookies behind injury-prone starters should never be cut. Hopefully you can get him back, Tunes, or maybe he was already scooped up. I picked him up ahead of this week in every league he was available of mine. If he's still out there, I know it sucks that you cut him, but you got to blow the bank to go get him back if you can. Big fan of Ken Walker. Honestly, Sarah, I like Ken Walker the rest of the year over A.J. Dillon. Dillon saw 28% of the work in the backfield this week. And, obviously, if something happens to Aaron Jones, he'll go crazy. So, it's so hard to cut A.J. Dillon for the exact reason why people shouldn't have cut Ken Walker, but even more so because he's at least a better offense for A.J. Dillon, maybe a better player too. I'm not convinced yet because Ken Walker, like I said, I love the player. I cannot wait to see what he does. But if it's one or the other for the rest of the season, it's Walker for me, just because I think he has the clear path to just a true running back 1 workload from here on out. Whereas A.J. Dillon would need an injury, roles diminishing by the week. Again, as we go, we'll pack through these questions. Please consider hitting that thumbs up button, YouTube, Facebook. If you're on Twitter catching this, retweets, shares, all that stuff is so greatly appreciated to help us continue to grow. And of course, sub to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that bell so you know when we're going live 4 times a week at minimum to answer all your questions and help you guys dominate. What's going on, Giuseppe? Good to see you, brother. I'd have to drop Mostert to get Walker. Thoughts? I'd rather have Walker. I would. I don't want to drop Mostert, though. So I don't know if there's like an IR spot or like, can you cut your kicker for now and kind of play it out through the week? I'd really like to have them both, but if it's one or the other, it's Walker for me. Picked up McKinnon. Start him or Gibson full PPR. Also got Warren, but starting Najee. Yeah, so can't start Warren yet. Definitely a stash. You're almost probably hoping, though, too, that like Najee goes down, as messed up as that is. Like Warren's more efficient and would be getting all the work now with no real nibbling. I guess this week you got to start McKinnon in full PPR. I just think he'll be a bit more active. How can you trust Gibson? Not going to get the receiving work with McKissick there. Now Brian Robinson sees more carries, 9 carries to his 3. I don't think you can trust Gibson the rest of the year without an injury. So yeah, give me McKinnon, as crazy as that sounds. Who should I drop to get Walker? Henderson, Dubs, Edmonds. Any of them? Walker's way more valuable than any of them. The drop order for me there would be Edmonds, then Henderson, then Dubs. But Walker's more valuable than any of them. Drop Edmonds, though. He's useless at this point. Sad. Love the player. Looks good when he gets used. Not getting used. It's Mostert's show now. Although we know how fast Mostert gets hurt, too. So maybe Henderson, actually. Because, if Mostert goes down, Edmonds could feast. Henderson's useless. I can get rid of him first. Should I trade Devonta Adams and Montgomery for Josh Jacobs and Lamb? I don't think so, Ross. I like Montgomery. I think he impresses every time he's out there. Came right back into a 70% snap, 70% workload. So kind of erase that question. Jacobs is clearly a better option, but Adams is clearly a better option than Lamb. It's not a bad deal, though, because Jacobs has really taken over. It's so close that it's I don't think I shake up my team unless Adams gets suspended. And then it's I really want to deal with this. But I think I prefer the Adams-Montgomery side. And so if it's a close one, I don't typically do the deal. I want to know I'm winning. Drop Algier? Yes, absolutely. Algier doesn't need to be rostered. Didn't do much this week. Damian Williams is now back, and Patterson will be back in a week or two. Yes, absolutely, Eno to fill in. Like I said, 20-point upside this week. Trade Stafford, Singletary, D. Henderson, or A.J. Dillon for Jalen Hurts. Guy needs running back depth. Yes, definitely. That's a bunch of Singletary. Ideally, you could do Henderson and Dillon and not trade Singletary. But either way, Stafford sucks this year. I'm worried about him. So yes, whatever combo it takes, any of those combos. Ideally, again, Singletary, my favorite running back to keep there. But even if you have to give up him, and ideally you give up Henderson, he's my least favorite, and it's by a mile of those backs. Henderson and any of those either one of those other running backs, and even if you have to give up all fucking 3 of them, I'd probably do that if you have the depth to sustain it, Giuseppe. Yes. To get Jakobi Meyers, I can drop Gallup, Dubs, or Dotson. Which guy should I drop to get him? Yeah, that's a tough one. I don't think it's Gallup for me, though. I guess Dotson with the questionable health, and maybe he lingers on waiver wires for a little bit since he won't be projected for any points the next couple of weeks. I'd probably go him. As much as I love him and I love his stretch run upside, I love his TD scoring nose. I think without an injury to McLaurin or Samuel, he's always going to be a bit more boom or bust. And then if you drop him, he doesn't get picked up and Dub sucks 2 weeks in a row, then you drop him. I'd keep Gallup around, though. When Dak comes back, I think again, let's not undersell what this Cowboys offense could be. Cards just added Corey Clement. Thanks for the heads up, DJ. That doesn't worry me at all. Corey Clement's nothing. But yeah, that just goes and tells you that they're maybe you're noticing it for the one reason that this would be worthwhile news is they're probably worried about the health of the running backs. So Eno Benjamin, workhorse this next week against Seattle. Love it. Chase Edmonds and Ayuk droppable, 5-man bench. Yep. Definitely Edmonds and probably Ayuk too. Yeah. Just don't know that you'll ever feel good about using him in a shallow bench like that. Yes, I would drop Brian Robinson for Ken Walker. 110%. Yes. I've been following the running backs this year. Drafted Jamal, Ken Walker. I love it. That's what the name of the game is. And that's why I think in the future, I've always been a running back purist. Running back, hammer it. And, it could have worked out well for you this year if you got Chubb and Eckler. Chubb and McCaffrey, that'd be a beastly start. But for the most part, running backs have been meh. You can get Diggs and just know what you're getting. you can get Mike Evans the next round. Like, my best team is a team that has Evans and Cooper Kupp as my first 2 picks. I didn't take a running back till round 7. I don't typically do 0 running back, and my 1-0 running back team is fucking feasting. This is why. This is what's kind of happening nowadays. So, yeah, I'm my philosophy in the guide next year will be quite different. I will say that. I'm not opposed to going running back, but I'm not lasered in. Like, that's the only thing you can do. 1 sec. It's the comments are freezing on me, so I'm just trying to. I see Y2J is up next, but it's not letting me click it. So 1 sec. I'm just trying to move that. Thank you for your patience while I figure out this. Well, I'm just going to kind of read the questions I can see and hope this. Here we go. All right, back to business. Quick froze. Hopefully you guys are still here. Y2J29 got the dub, baby. Love to hear it. Fingers crossed I get my hands on Walker or Hill in the waiver. Yeah, get Walker. Priority number 1 as much as you can. Thielen for Alec Pierce. Kurt, honestly, not impossible. I have Thielen. He's fucking pissing me off. And Pierce ascending. I still want to see what happens with Thielen. Like, if there's an injury or anything, like, he'd be a stud. And he has had red zone chemistry in the past. But, yeah, I mean, not horrible. I mean, Pierce went against the rookie CB. They've been limiting every other receiver they played all year, though. I get Surtain was on, Pittman most of the night, but Pierce did what he did. He cooked him. And, again, nobody else has really been cooking any, whether it's the rookie or not. Nobody's been really doing anything against this Broncos secondary. So I'm not going to undersell it just because he faced a rookie. There's lots of good rookie cornerbacks out there, Michael. I don't know. I'm not underselling it. I think it was a very impressive day, and he's got 3 straight impressive days. He's a player. Pierce is a player. Do not doubt him. Y2J29. Would you drop Pitts or Freiermuth for Hill? Pitts. Fuck Pitts. I'm done with it. I think I would. Wow, what's this world come to? Would you trade Amon-Ra St. Brown for Najee Harris, DJ Moore, and Jameson Williams? I'm not a DJ Moore guy. I'm not a Najee Harris guy. I do like Jameson Williams, but no. I mean, it's not a bad haul, especially if DJ Moore got traded with the, potentially stripping this thing to the studs, but they're saying already they're not doing that, so I don't know if he gets moved. Najee is still like a ticking time bomb, though. If I felt better about him, I'd say yes, but I don't. So, no, I'm not doing that. Knox or Otten this week? I mean, is Knox going to play? Is Brate going to play? A lot of questions involved in that one, but let's say it's Knox and Otten are both in, no Brate. I might go Otten. Can't really trust Knox, but it is the Chiefs shootout style game. You want a piece of that too. I know it. We all do. We got a lot to figure out there, no, too. We'll cover that one later this week. We will. Thursday, 6:45 p.m. Thursday night kickoff show for that real great game we got coming up. Dropping Tyler Algier for Rachaad White, I think. 12-man PPR. Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. Go all in on Walker, 110%. Yes. Start 2 at PPR. Walker, Etienne, Hunt, Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones and Walker for me. I'm on here. Do I trade Aaron Jones and Hunt for Jacobs? Nah. I love what Jacobs is doing. Aaron Jones is a stud, so no, I wouldn't do that. Do we answer questions from chat? I've been answering questions for a little while now, you spook. That's how we do it. I'll go through my kind of spiel. If you're new here, awesome, welcome. But yeah, I always will go through my 10, 20 pickups that I like. Similar on a Sunday show, we'll go through the news. Thursday show, I'll go through my higher, lower Hail Marys, I call it. And then we'll always answer all the questions at the end. Yeah. So yes, I pride myself on that. So yeah, I love to interact with you guys. If you're new and you haven't already, maybe thumbs up and subscribe. Be here often. We love active people. You've asked some good questions so far, so we'd love to see it more. Thoughts on Odell rest of the season once he comes back next month? Yeah, I mean, there's a chance whoever signs him for the playoffs and he doesn't even play. Obviously, if he lands with the Bills, like some of these rumored spots, the Chargers and the Chiefs, I mean, with all the ceiling in the world, but a lot of those teams might be just signing him only for the playoffs too. So is he worth a stash? Yeah. If he lands in one of those 3 spots, of course. But is he guaranteed to even play is the question that we got to wonder, Chad. But yeah, especially if you have the bench depth for it, Worth stashing to kind of feel this out. I'd give it a week or two, though, if you think you can manage that. Just answered that one for you, Spook. Just got a trade offer. Pittman for Monty. I'm weak at receiver, but I see you have Pittman ranked at the top of the same tier rest of the season as Monty. Trade value chart says slam dunk. Thoughts? Yeah. If you're weak at receiver, then yeah, I think Pittman will get it together. It is closer, though. I think the trade value, our guy Jackson, a little bit higher on Pittman than I am, a little bit lower on Monty than I am, too. So it's a little closer for me, but definitely if you're weaker at running back, weaker at receiver, yeah, I think that's a fair, absolutely. I think you figured it out, Spook. Your questions are going through. Do I expect this trade? I received Najee and Renfro. You received Damian Pierce and Juju. No. Rather have Damian than Najee. Renfro and Juju's swapping shit for shit. Doesn't do anything for me, so nah. Standard League Superflex. Ton of wide receiver depth. Chase, Brown, McKenzie, starters. I wouldn't call that a ton of receiver depth. McKenzie is like your third, isn't it? Chase and Brown, okay, we're talking, but then McKenzie, we're following. Would you drop Dubes or Dotson to grab Brissett, Mills, or Mariota? Need a QB for week 7. I drop Dotson first because I do think, similar to what I was saying earlier, people might see zero projection, like they look at filter by points projected per week. So he might slip through the cracks right now, and you might be able to get him back when you no longer need that QB. Is Dalton Schultz almost ready to be hate cut? Similar to the thread here, I hold on to my Cowboys unless that PCL injury is really significantly aggravated. We'll see. What's going on, Frazier from Scotland? J-Rob and Wilson got JT. Talk about selling high, my man. I don't have any interest in J-Rob or Garrett Wilson rest of season compared to JT. Unbelievable. Eckler, JT Montgomery. Whew. Pick off waivers. You still go for Walker. Definitely league-winning upside. Frazier, rewind back to the beginning. Talk a lot about Kenneth Walker and his league-winning upside there, but yes, the answer is yes. Great talent. Shockingly, pretty good offense this year. 7th most points in the league. Fast pace. Oh, yeah. Definite upside. No problem, Spook. It's your first time. Glad you're here. Glad to hear you'll be back for more in the future, my man. Good to meet you, Spook. Welcome on back. Make sure to sub so you know when we're live. Hit that bell. Next time will be 6:45 on Sunday. My man, the truth will be with me, as we always do for our Thursday show. I'm sure you'll love it, Spook. Glad you're here and happy to answer your questions. That's why we do our thing, baby. Jamal Williams droppable with bye week in hopes that Swift. Even with Swift there, he was seeing the most goal line carries in the league. Multiple 2-touchdown weeks so far this year. I really wouldn't want to drop him, Sarah. No. Start 2 receivers based on health. Kirk, Samuel, Thomas, Judy, Keenan Allen. Obviously, so much comes down to health Y2J. Let's hold off on answering that one. If everybody's healthy, I'm probably going Keenan and Kirk. But we got to wait that one out. Wolfpack, thank you so much for being here. Best of luck on your waivers. Hope you get everybody you need. Hit that thumbs up button on your way out. Check out rotostreetjournal.com, our homepage. We breed and feed you fantasy wolves with all your content, all my rankings, rest of season, each week, all my rankings, waiver wire articles, all that good stuff, defensive streamers. It's all there for you. Everything you need at rotostreetjournal.com, website or app, also out there for you. Sub to the channel if you haven't already. And remember, in a world full of fancy sheep, be that wolf, baby. Great night. Thank you, Y2J. See you soon.